And back here in Washington, we've learned the Trump Justice Department secretly obtained the Apple data of then President Trump's White House counsel in 2018. So again, they were seizing that data when Don McGahn was the White House counsel. We don't know what case this stemmed from, but a source tells CNN the directive did not come from former special counsel Robert Mueller's team. A separate source familiar says former Attorney General Jeff Sessions and former Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein are claiming to others they were unaware of the request for Don McGahn's records. This happened the same month in 2018 that a DOJ sweep seized the data of two Democratic congressmen. Today, Democratic leadership offered a stinging rebuke of the actions.
What has happened here are fingerprints of a dictatorship, not a democracy.
What the administration did, the Justice Department, the leadership of the former president, goes even beyond Richard Nixon.
I'm joined now by Democratic Congressman Peter Welch. Nice to see you, Congressman. Thanks for coming on the show. We just heard there some strong words from your congressional leaders. Do you agree with their view?
Well, I do. There's two pretty astonishing things. One is personal and one is political in the broad sense, political in the sense that affects you and me, everyone. Personal, it's astonishing that Donald Trump was not only attacking Adam Schiff, with whom he had a vendetta, but he was going after his own lawyer. So the personal ability of Donald Trump to have loyalty to no one is on display here. But second, and more importantly for our country, he's weaponizing the Justice Department. And Barr and Sessions were aid and complicit in this. And where you have a president who is essentially using the Justice Department as a political arm to carry out his attacks against political opponents, you're violating the rule of law. And in this case, he's attacking an independent branch of government. And that's without precedent.
I just want to be clear, though, there is still a lot we don't know. Certainly some of this is very suspicious given the president's rhetoric, given the way the Trump DOJ has behaved in the past. But there's still a lot we don't know. And I've talked to sources who say, as we try to learn more facts, that this could be a situation where they were collected, Don McGahn's information and the Congress members' information was collected as part of a larger sweep where the investigation was targeted elsewhere. Does that satisfy you anymore? And do you think all of this raises just questions about the power of the executive branch and the tools that they're able to use?
Well, it raises that question. Keep in mind, what you left out in that recitation is that the Justice Department went back several times to get a gag order to guarantee that you and the press and we and the public had no knowledge of what they were up to. So this subpoenas don't produce themselves. They don't sign themselves. They have to be requested, and that's a prosecutorial function. And if you're going to get a subpoena against the chair of the Intelligence Committee at that time, ranking member, or you're going to get a subpoena to get documents from the White House counsel, that takes a person at the highest level, and we know that it's common sense. And we saw how Barr was incredibly evasive, I would say lied, in response to questions from then Senator Harris about whether there were any investigations underway. So this is incredibly serious. It's incredibly serious because it is an attack on the legislative branch, and it's an attack on the Democratic proposition of checks and balances. So the language that Senator Schumer used, I think, is appropriate here.
So, and just to be clear, as you well know, Bill Barr is claiming he doesn't recall any of this. Now, in 2018, this was before he actually took over DOJ, when that subpoena was initially made for Don McGahn and the lawmakers. Jeff Sessions is claiming that he wasn't aware, and so is Rod Rosenstein. There is still so much to learn about this. Have you received any more information, Congressman, from DOJ or from Apple about whether any more accounts, any other information from lawmakers like yourself was handed over to DOJ? Anything else to help us piece this together?
I haven't, and that's why we want the Inspector General to do this investigation. But Barr and Sessions, when they're saying this, are really not credible. Keep in mind that Barr hired cronies, people from outside the Justice Department, to in effect be a separate branch that was dedicated to doing the political missions of Donald Trump. And that's how serious Barr got about containing it. And then their loyalty was not to the Constitution. That group, their loyalty was to President Trump and his political agenda, which was about vendettas.
It certainly strains credulity that none of the DOJ leadership knew about this. Even if they went to Apple and they didn't know these numbers belonged to these officials, these lawmakers and Don McGahn, Apple would have gotten back to them presumably and given the names, and you would think that that would go up to leadership. So it raises questions either way. I'm wondering if you could talk to Barr and Sessions, if they do testify, what questions would you ask them?
What did they do? How did these subpoenas get issued? I mean, it's really very straightforward. The subpoena doesn't issue itself. There has to be a request made by a prosecutor for authorization from the grand jury. And all lawyers know who practice any kind of law in criminal court that grand juries are very cooperative with the prosecutor before them. So that's where we can go. There's an answer to this question, and Barr, if you notice, his denial is very vague, and he was incredibly vague and forgetful. And this is a man with an incredible memory. Yeah,
Let me just ask you, though, quickly, before we let you go, Congressman, under the Obama administration, as you well know, they were very aggressive in targeting reporters, 20 reporters from the AP, for example. Do you think that these types of leaking investigations, that there should be more safeguards for them, or that there should be more parameters for these leak investigations?
I do. I think, we depend on a free press, and the free press does things that administrations don't like. And I think there's got to be protection for the press when it's doing its job. But keep in mind, in addition to going after the press, what President Trump did, then President Trump, is he went after a sitting members of Congress, who were doing their job as Democratic elected representatives in a separate branch of government. And that is in addition to what he did for those reporters whose information he was subpoenaing through Barr, I believe.
Okay, Congressman Peter Welch, thanks for joining us on the show.